dam is done.
The government could also assure redevelopment of the villages that are not going to be dislocated but are going to benefit from this irrigation system. A redevelopment progress, like not an entire redevelopment project, but maybe if they try to build in a few buildings or something of those sorts in these villages, which will get better irrigation, it would help to provide accommodation to those who would get displaced as well. So that could be another thing that is adding to the government's forte, bringing them better in the eyes of the villagers while also uh, tackling the situation of the villagers' protests.
Agreed. And not only residential buildings, they can also look for establishing new industry, not entire industries, but new companies. Since the agriculture part will develop, they will need ancillary industries for the same. They can maybe develop some sort of school, some sort of classes, other companies help give some sort of uh, give some sort of benefits to companies establishing their offices in these new areas.
Digna, please summarize.
Okay, so we started with the discussion stating that maybe even though the price for building the dam and for the 15% irrigation plan might be the same, the 15% irrigation plan might be more feasible to convince the villagers about. However, if we do go about with building the dam and we have to relocate the 20 villages in question, we can actually relocate them to the remaining villages be involved in their development in terms of housing, in terms of companies, in terms of schooling, which would provide us an incentive for the other villagers as well to shift to these villages. As for the temple aspect is concerned, we discussed how we could probably relocate the idol and convince the villagers in terms of the fact that the new temple would be built only that the dam would be start to build only after the idol was relocated. Employment could also be given for the building of the dam, which would at least act as a short-term uh, 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 solution. And the villagers could be counseled about the benefits of the long-term irrigation that they would achieve through the building of the dam.
Ayushi, please summarize.
We started the discussion with how the second plan, which is in development, might be more attractive to the villagers, but from the government's perspective, it does not make a lot of monetary sense. In this sense, the first original plan would be more convenient or more beneficial. What the government can do is for temporary displacement, temporary loss of employment, they can employ the same people for construction work and all the other work that will be done for relocating. One thing which could be done is the government could build new buildings in nearby villages. They can also build other institutions such as schools, extra schools, and establish new industries which will help the villages who will now have more agricultural product. And for the temple, what can be done is the government can promise and also construct the temple first, relocate the idol, and only then start the construction of the dam.
Shubham, please summarize.
Sorry, sir, I was not actually involved in the discussion.
Basically, there are two emotional issues here. One is displacement, and the other one is the temple. Villagers are very emotionally attached to the land which they consider as their mother and all that. And just imagine yourself in the position of the villager. Suppose you are staying wherever you are staying in your home. Tomorrow, the government says that we are going to um, break this building because we need to extend the road, and so we'll give you compensation, and you have to leave this place. So your immediate reaction would be, why should I leave? It's the same thing with the villagers. Why should I leave? We have been here for generations. This is our land. This is our mother, and all that. So it's difficult to convince them about by giving them uh, compensation or more than the market price and everything. The other thing is the temple, which obviously for us, uh, temples have a very high esteem and faith, and we sort of think that our lives are saved by the presiding deity of the temple and they are looking after us. So when we talk of submerging a temple, that will obviously not go very well with the village. So it has to be done very tactfully, like you all said. You were talking in very practical terms, but actually it may not be that easy because both the issues are sentimental and emotional issues. The cost increasing if the 15% irrigated area is increased. I don't know where you got that thing from, but it's not mentioned here. So probably they'll have to reach out to the little educated people or the village head and some panchayat or something and try to convince them so that they can further convince the villagers, because otherwise it might become a very sensitive political issue for the government as well as a religious issue because of the temple. These kind of things have happened. The other thing in this case is about trust. How much can the villagers can they trust the government, even if you think that government is going, even if the villagers are convinced about what the government is saying. But then, is there trust between the villagers and the government that they'll get alternative land, alternative uh, money that has been promised? Will it come to them or will it be siphoned off? And the other thing is that if they are villagers and they are into farming, then they probably have fertile land here. So we don't know whether any other land which the government provides to them will be fertile or not. So a lot of ifs and buts are there, but like you all said, no, they have to try and convince the villagers to move out so that they can have better lifestyle and maybe compensate them. And obviously, you may have heard a lot of times that some villagers in Gurgaon they sold their land and got crores of rupees, but within a year or two they spent all the money and they were so educating them also is an issue here. You have to educate them as to how to use that money that they're getting. So it will require a lot of effort from everyone's side, especially the government side, to convince and to make sure that villagers have a trust and then they give the land and they are compensated and then they are told how to handle the finances and everything to be done. So it's really a time consuming process, but probably that's the only way. Would any of you three like to be